Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome. And I hope your day 8 of Ramadan is a wonderful day for you. MashaAllah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad. We are here at this beautiful day talking about faith, a love story, and connecting as well to the juz'a of Quran that we are reading every day. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah to all of you. MashaAllah. I look forward to spending this half an hour or so with you every day. SubhanAllah. All right. So here, today is the 8th day. Yesterday, we finished at 7. And so we're kind of in the between them. Maybe you finished at 8 already today in your reading, or maybe you're about to read it. But at the end of the juz' yesterday, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala invites us at the end of Surah Al-Ma'idah, I should say, to bear witness to an extraordinary occurrence. Extraordinary. And we're going to start here today in our exploration of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses prophets to teach us a very important lesson, which is the lesson of du'a, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers our du'a. So this important occurrence is that the disciples asked Isa alayhi salam to send down a table from heaven. And the verse is like this: إِذْ قَالَ الْحَوَارِيُّونَ يَا عِيسَى يَا عِيسَى ابْنَ مَرْيَمَ هَلْ يَسْتَطِيعُ رَبُّكَ أَنْ يُنَزِّلَ عَلَيْنَا مَائِدَةً مِنَ السَّمَاءِ. And then Isa responds, قَالَ اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ إِن كُنْتُمْ مُؤْمِنِينَ. So here, the meaning in English is that the disciples asked Isa, they said, "Oh Isa, son of Maryam, is your Lord capable to send down from the heavens a table?" And Isa responds in the Quran, he says, "Have taqwa of Allah if you are believers." Now, some of the scholars say that the reason the disciples asked for this table is because they were in need of food. They were hungry. And so they asked Isa for the table so that they could eat and strengthen themselves to do more acts of ibadah. Now, if we pause here just for a moment and think about how we are spending the day fasting, and maybe you're getting tired, maybe you're a little tired, maybe you're struggling at work, maybe you're saying hashtag fasting fog more often than you want to. Remember that the food that you eat at night, the iftar and the suhoor that you have, are there to strengthen you for ibadah. So if you've eaten iftar, feel that strength to pray tarawih. Whether you go to the masjid or you pray at home, do your best to pray tarawih. When you eat suhoor, make sure that that is strengthening you to do your ibadah in the morning. Now, Isa responds to them and says, اتقوا الله إن كنتم مؤمنين. This is a question here. What is he responding to? For most of my life, I thought he was responding here, or most of my sort of reading of this, I've seen him as responding to the request itself. As in, have taqwa of Allah for asking for a table to come down from the heaven. But then, if we look at that again, and we look at the way they ask the question, هل يستطيع, as astaghfirullah, asking if Allah is capable. Allah is capable of all things. And so, are they questioning that? Then that is what they need to have taqwa for. When we ask Allah, we can ask anything. Allah is capable. Allah huwa al-qadir. Allah is capable of all things. All things. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does respond to this dua and does send this table and does say to them, to Isa, that whoever disbelieves after this answered prayer will be punished in a way that no one has been punished before. Now, here, what I'm focusing on today in this concept of faith as a love story is this idea of du'a. And how prophets, we've been told about prophets and their interaction with du'a so that we can learn about how to make du'a, what to make du'a for, and what to think about du'a. So here, I think that we really have to focus on something, which is to focus and remember when our du'a is answered. I want us to remember it. I want you to remember the last time you had an answered du'a. Was it something big? Was it something small? It's okay if it's small. It's still an answered du'a. And what happens when we forget Allah's blessings and favor upon us? This is something really serious. That we turn to Allah and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah gives us and then we forget. And in that love story, there we are again. Always the one far. We're always the one who we're not doing our part in this love story. Allah created us. Allah gives us. Allah responds to us. We say, Ya Allah, and we are answered. And we forget. And we forget. 2 years ago, we had an opportunity here at the Rabata Cultural Center to expand. Our neighbors had left their space. And I said, Ya Allah, if we increase our funds that time by $50,000, I was like an istikhara. Then I'll take that as a sign that we should get the next place. And it happened. And so we did get that next place. Well, it was 2 years ago. And here we are now on the brink of a bachelor's degree. We're working on that. We're working on a lot of really exciting things in that space of really high-level education for Muslim women and just uplifting women in all different ways. And I was reminded when I read this that Allah has answered our dua before. So inshallah, Allah will answer our dua this year and send people that He loves. I'm making dua this year. Ya Allah, send the people that You love to donate to us to help us reach our goal. So together we can get this work done. So in that space, I'm calling on myself to remember so that I feel confident in the fundraiser this year. And what I want you to do is remember a dua that you made and feel confident in the dua you're making now. But remember it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can answer enormous dua. Enormous. He is sending a table from the sky. But Allah will answer. And about this calling, our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is within us, this fitrah within us, where we will call out to Allah because we are created with a deep longing and needs for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in terribly difficult times, everyone calls out to Allah. It's a natural response to seek help. I read about Yusuf Islam or Cat Stevens' conversion story, how he was out in the ocean and the waves took him under, and he said, oh God, if You save me, I will find the religion that You want me to follow and worship You and follow it. And immediately he felt a wave push him onto the shore, and he did what he said he'd do. A lot of people, when they call out to Allah in the midst of a trial, they don't do it. They don't follow up. They forget. But it's on us to do it, to follow up. Also in yesterday's visit, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about this. Mentions this idea that when we are in difficulty, we say, Ya Allah, قُلْ أَرَأَيْتَكُمْ إِنْ أَتَاكُمْ عَذَابُ اللَّهِ أَوْ أَتَتْكُمُ السَّاعَةِ أَغَيْرَ اللَّهِ تَدْعُونَ إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. If a trial or a punishment from Allah comes to you, or the last hour comes to you, Will you call on other than Allah if you are truthful? No. Everyone calls on Allah. So knowing that that's our inner self, that's your instinctual self, calling on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then Allah says, بَلْ إِيَّاهُ تَدْعُونَ. He is the one you will call upon. فَيَكْشِفُ مَا تَدْعُونَ إِلَيْهِ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can remove the affliction, the hardship that we call on Him to remove. Insha, if He wills. وَتَنْسَوْنَ مَا تُشْرِكُونَ. But then you forget only then will you forget whatever you associated Him in worship. When we see that answered du'a. So in our love story, in this faith as a love story journey that we're on this month, I'm asking you to really think about that du'a. Don't be in a state of despair. Whatever it is, what do you need to ask for? Allah takes care of us, and Allah sends us solutions. Allah removes affliction so we can be grateful and respond in a beautiful way. So we can forget all that we associate with Him. What are the things we associate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What do we hold equal to Allah? My Aqidah teacher, when I was talking to her once, she said she was talking about as a child, her mother, whenever her mother would give her a spoon of medicine, she would say to her, Bismillah, and Allah is the one who cures. And so she said, as a child, we were eating and drinking true belief in Allah. And today, sometimes we associate with Allah science. We associate just the world. We give the world more power than it has. And we forget that in the midst of great trials, it is Allah that can save us, Allah that will save us, and nobody else. And even in the midst of little trials, little things that you need. The other night, for our Taraweeh, one of the ladies said, oh, I'm so glad, I was a little bit late that night. And she said, oh, I'm so glad I made du'a that you would be late. I said, why don't you make du'a that $1 million comes to Rabata? She made du'a that I would be late, and I was late. Subhanallah. And of course, so we can say, she said, I really didn't want to miss Isha. I wanted to pray Isha with you. And we were running late. So I said, Ya Allah, let me be late. And we laughed about that. But look at the little things that Allah answers. Remember the little things too. The little things add up to important things. Remember those things as well. Now in the juz'ah that we read today in Surah Al-A'raf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَدْعُوا رَبَّكُمْ تَضَرُّعًا وَخُفْيًا إِنَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُعْتَدِينَ. Call upon your Lord humbly and secretly. Surely He does not like, la yuhib, He does not love the transgressors. Al-mu'tadeen. And it continues to the next verse. وَلَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ بَعْدَ إِصْلَاحِهَا. Don't spread corruption in the land after it has been set to order. وَادْعُوهُ خَوْفًا وَطَمَعًا. And call upon Him with hope and fear. إِنَّ رَحْمَةَ اللَّهِ قَرِيبٌ مِّنَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Indeed, Allah's mercy is close to the good doers. I see there's a question here that says that you were just having this conversation with your father and his refusal to take medicine. He's refusing and it's doing well, and he's saying, Tawakkal ala Allah. I wasn't saying not to take medicine. I'm saying that we take medicine because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us ways and means of this earth. And even the Prophet ﷺ said, for every disease, there is a cure on this earth. We just don't know it, right? But when it comes to us, we take it knowing Allah sent it. So we trust in the one who provided this. And we know that Allah puts the cure in the medicine. But there's an old joke. It's a funny joke. But there's an old joke about this guy who he was at home and he's watching the news. And the news on TV, old-fashioned joke. This is an old joke from when I was young. He's watching the news, and the news is saying, the floods are coming. We need everyone to evacuate. We're going to be flooded. It's very dangerous. Leave. And he says, oh, Allah will take care of me. I have trust in Allah. Tawakkaltu ala Allah. And so then the rain comes, and then he starts coming in and starts filling the first floor. So he goes up to the second. No, it starts filling the first floor. A boat comes and says, come on, we're come to pick up the people who didn't make it out. Come on. And he says, no. God will protect me. God will take care of me. So then the rain comes and the floods come, and he goes up to the second floor or the top floor of his building. And pretty soon a helicopter comes and says, last call. Come on. We're here to get you out. Let's throw you a rope. And he says, no. God will take care of me. Allah will take care of me. And then he dies. And it's a joke, remember. This is not a real story. This is just a joke. And he dies, and he goes in front of Allah, astaghfirullah, and Allah says to him, he says, Ya Allah, why didn't you save me? Allah says, I sent you the news, and I sent you a boat, and I sent you a helicopter. What more did you want? Astaghfirullah. And so, of course, I don't want to be, impolite in telling jokes, but I feel like this is something that really helps us understand. When we see the matters of this dunya that Allah has sent to help us, this is how we soak in our belief and our knowledge that it is Allah taking care of us. And that Allah is answering our dua with all of these things. And so back to my verse, أَدْعُوا رَبَّكُمْ تَضَرُّعًا وَخُفْيًا. This is real, clear instructions about how to make dua. To turn to Allah with humbleness and in secret, quietly turning to Allah. Ya Allah, what is it that you need? What do you need? Ask Allah for it. What are you asking for? Do you need a job? Ask Allah. Allah will send you a job. Do you need a spouse? Ask Allah for someone who Allah loves. Are you wishing for children? Are you wishing for the guidance of your children? Turn to Allah. Go with humbleness. Go knowing your faults. Are you praying for Gaza? Go with humbleness, knowing your faults. Knowing that we have not done what we should in our side of this love story. But we are calling upon the most generous one. And Allah says, إِنَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُعْتَدِينَ, and then continues, وَلَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ بَعْدَ إِصْلَاحِهَا. There's real warning here connected to making dua around how we behave. That how we behave matters. And then in the second verse, Allah says, this is actually verse 56, وَادْعُوهُ خَوْفًا وَطَمَعًا. Call upon him with fear. So we call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with fear. What does that mean? It is a fear that we fear our disappointment. How do we disappoint Allah? How have we not kept up our side of this love story? If you really love someone, really love someone, you don't want to upset them. You don't want to see a disappointed glance in your direction. You want to see only a happiness in their eyes. And that's a human experience. So imagine with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We said, we're reminding us that yesterday we saw يُحِبُّونَهُمْ وَيُحِبُّونَهُ, that Allah loved us first. Allah loves us. And so we are called upon to do and to live in this space of being the receiver of this love and the returner of the love. So we call upon Allah knowing how our shortcomings and fearing his punishment for our shortcomings. And also with great hope. Great hope. And trust that Allah is going to answer this dua. A hope, real hope, knowing it, feeling it. Allah says, Inna rahmatallahi qareebun min al-muhsinin. Again, connecting how His mercy is connected to our behavior. Muhsinin, those who do good, those who live in excellence, those who have made their faith part of their action in beautiful ways. The best of the people on this earth. Subhanallah. In the next verses here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows us something, or makes an example of something to remind us of this, how much this dua can be successful. The next verses, Allah shows us how He brings life to the dead. How He brings life to the dead. وَهُوَ الَّذِي يُرْسِلُ الرِّيَاحُ بُشْرًا بَيْنَ يَدَيْ رَحْمَتِهِ. He's the one who sends wind, ushering in His mercy. حتى إذا أقلت سحابا ثقالا سقناه لبلد ميت فأنزلنا به الماء. We send, this wind bears heavy clouds and we drive them to a lifeless land and then cause the rain to fall, producing every type of fruit. I want you to think about that. I live in Minnesota. When we look outside, we see dead leaves, dead trees. They look like they're never coming back after the winter. But they do. They come back with green buds, bright green leaves of all different colors. They bring forth blossoms and fruit. It's amazing. The ground turns from an ugly brown to a bright, beautiful green. La ilaha illallah. كذلك نخرج الموت لعلكم تذكرون. This is how we bring the dead to life, so perhaps you will be mindful, Allah says. Just as Allah gives us an example again and again and again and again and again and again of how He brings life to plants around us. Not only life, how they produce abundantly. وَالْبَلَدُ الطَّيِّبُ يَخْرُجُ نَبَاتُهُ بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِ. The fertile land produces abundantly by Allah's will. By Allah's will. And we turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we say, Ya Allah, give us. Give us. Ask. Ask for what it is that you need. Allah will answer. And yes, be grateful for everything that Allah, and notice it. I started out this talk today pointing out this story of Isa so that we could remember the dua that's been answered. So when we're putting our hands up, we put our hands up with great hope of Allah's response to us. Great hope of Allah's response to us. And then if you continue at this Surah Al-A'raf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts telling us about different prophets. Nuh, Hud, Salih, Lut, Shu'aib, alayhim salam. These are all examples of people who Allah sent prophets to. They were called to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They refused, and so they were punished. And for us, Ramadan comes every year as a reminder of our blessed and beloved Prophet ﷺ. It comes every year. Every year Ramadan comes and calls upon us to believe in Allah and the prophets, to do our best, to grow, to call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, to be of the good, to be of the muhsineen, to listen and do and believe. Subhanallah. To be of those who do our best, to do our best, and really turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with our full heart, with our whole heart. Ay wallah, even something as mundane as going to the zoo, imagine that the same one who created a giraffe created a hippopotamus. La ilaha illallah. Okay, I did see some questions come through before. I might have missed them, so maybe bring them back. Should we make dua for others and give thanks for everything first before making dua to ask for our own wishes? The adab of dua is always to start with salawat on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Salatu salam alayka ya habibi ya Rasulullah. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad. And to end with it as well. Otherwise, speak your heart. Don't worry too much in Ramadan. Just speak your heart. If you have du'as that are beautiful, that you've memorized, that you know, say those. If you have something on your mind, on your heart, say it. Make dua for yourself. Make dua for others. Make dua for everybody. Just keep on making dua, making dua, making dua. And inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will answer those du'as. If I try to scroll up, can I still make du'as and have them be accepted it says here while I'm in my period, but I would like to say when you're in your dhikr week, that's what we call it over here at Rabata. So if you are in your dhikr week, that is a wonderful time to make dua. And by the way, I want to say that in Ramadan, when you are in your dhikr week and you're not fasting and you're feeling left out, go get yourself a dua book and sit and read it cover to cover. We have one that we've published, and I don't have it right next to me. I'll show it to you now. But we actually made it, part of it, was with this idea in mind, so that you can go ahead and start. It starts with salawat and it ends with salawat, so that you can have that experience of doing dua like that. And I'm determined to show it to you, so I'm going to find it here. I have a big question. I feel we don't do things for Allah, but for ourselves. Dua is for having things. Ibadah has a lot of hasanat, so it's for us. How can we be sure to do things for Allah? Well, that's a beautiful question. Here's the dua book I want to show you. It's very beautiful. You can tell that it has texture, and the inside pages are beautiful as well. I'll show you. They're very beautiful. And it's in Arabic and in transliteration and in English. So it's really a very useful dua book. And there's the link. Although that link will be hard to click on Instagram. But you can go to bookshop.rabata.org and look up the Garden of Remembrance and you'll find it. Okay, so the question about how do we really make sure that we're making dua for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is just a matter of being in control of your intention and really looking to yourself and making sure that you are remembering who's in charge. Actually, this series on Instagram, Faith, a Love Story, should help you with that. Because the goal here is to really clarify who is Allah to us, who are the prophets, everything about our belief, to help us do better in our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I also saw another question. Let me see. About someone who asked, and I lost it. I've been making dua for 8 years, and it's not coming true. So I just want to say that if you've been making dua for 8 years, there are other things that Allah has given you. Sometimes we're asking for something that is not part of our qadar. So we have to accept what Allah is giving us instead. And so, there's actually a lot to learn about dua. Are you doing the good deeds we talked about today from the Quran? Are you making sure that you are a person of faith and ihsan? So really have that ihsan and ask Allah. And remember that Allah wants what is best for you. So if you're asking for something that would harm you, maybe He's actually protecting you. How do you have tawakkul when nothing makes sense and the future is so unclear and everything is out of your control? I want to trust my du'as will be answered, but it's difficult. I think really, again, that's part of what we're talking about all month. Knowing Allah, have husnul zan billah. And remember that whatever happens in this life, it's just this life. It is the afterlife that is truly important. And I think sometimes this need for control is a trick of shaitan. We don't actually have control. So when we are acting like we have control, maybe we do Actually, we don't. We don't really have control over so many things. So do your best, plan, work hard, do your best, but don't be a control freak. Not in anything. Not with people either. It's so obnoxious. It's so hard. How do we know when to stop asking for something? Your heart will know. And I think also sometimes, like, even if you stopped asking, it doesn't mean it's not coming. It might come anyway. So follow your heart. If your heart is not feeling it, or maybe you need to just do some different things, and you can, find a way to help go into that space. Okay, I can't accept qadr. Du'a changes qadr. Du'a sometimes does change qadr. It pushes back on it in certain ways. You're right. Can't help. What other motivation words can you help? What other motivation words can I say to a convert friend who gave up her ibadah? She went through a lot in her life. Now she's in the last stage of her life of cancer. Been telling her not to miss salah. Oh, very sad. I think most important for her is to reconnect with Allah, with the La ilaha illallah. And she may need to, if she's in the last stages of cancer, her prayer, it might be very difficult for her to pray. Physically, I mean, so she needs to understand it's okay to pray even with her eyes. So I suggest you really speak very gentle words with her and help her to do it in an easy way. Ay wallah. Pray as if your prayers are already answered. That's a beautiful thing to say. And thank you, everyone. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase us in connection. And yes, we say some unanswered dua are saved for us as gifts in Jannah for sure. But the way I think all dua is answered, but maybe we are given something else. And maybe you ask for something, Allah doesn't give you that thing, but gives you something else wonderful. So see the beauty that Allah gives you. See it. That's the whole point of this first story I told today. See the blessings Allah has given you and respond appropriately. And stay positive, and stay in your love story, and don't walk away, and be of those who truly love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and truly turn to Him, and truly ask, and truly are grateful, and truly are connected. All of us, inshallah. All right, thank you, everyone, and we'll continue with our journey tomorrow. Remember, today is Monday. What do we want on Monday? Monday, we want monthly donors. So I want 30 of you. Big number. I want 30 of you to pop on over to rabata.kindful.com, and I want you to become a monthly donor. Now, we want to keep up this work. We want to be able to do all of this work. We want to grow in this work. We want to have this bachelor's program that is affordable. I don't want to charge people the regular costs at universities. I want to keep that cost down. And so I don't want Muslims to have to go into debt. I want Muslim women to have an education, accredited education without debt. So support us, become a sustaining donor, rabata.kindful.com. Go over there and become a monthly donor. And I'll let you know tomorrow how many of you were able to do that. I also have my bingo card up on my stories. Go fill out my bingo card. I got a couple of you. Thank you so much. The rest of you, go fill out that bingo card. Let me finish that bingo card today. And continue to, remember, this is Ramadan. Everything you give is a great reward. And I'll send a special dua for you as well. You have special perks if you're a monthly donor. You get to have a discount at the bookshop. And you get a special newsletter you get news and updates ahead of time. And all sorts of fun stuff. So become a monthly donor, rabata.kindful.com. And also fill out my bingo card. It's in my stories. The instructions are there. Yalla. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.